Welcome inside the Paris C-Pal. It's high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the JFS coming to you on Power Talk. Can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today and looking to inoculate ourselves from the deadly coronavirus. The only way I know how to do that is by connecting with my peers and younger generations of authentic musicians who are looking to create new musical vocabulary on the bandstand through their apparatus. And by listening to their bandmates and their ears grow from that, and they're able to let the body dance. And get a chance today to speak to somebody who I just got hip to. She's a very liberated woman on the bandstand. She likes to, really get down with the music and inspire her bandmates and hopefully raise the collective consciousness of the audience as well, which is the real magic of music. Joan Chu, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hi, Jake. Thanks for having me.
It's an
Nice to be here.
It's an honor to have you. How horny are you to get back on the bandstand?
I mean, if we could play safely tomorrow, I'll be down. But, safety is the key word here. And, I am definitely looking forward to when that's going to happen. There is going to be an end to this. We just got to believe that that's going to happen.
No, I understand. It's the question is, most of my peers, and you guys you sing for your supper on the bandstand. You establish gigs, and I know you do teaching and things like that, but I'm curious about your mindset, or you talk to cats around the world who are in your boat. You've already established a niche, and how are you going to prepare for an unprecedented hibernation, so to speak? Let's say it's 18 to 24 months. Because they tried to open discotheques in South Korea and coronavirus broke right out. So
right, yeah.
I want you to talk in your career about when you were faced with a situation where you had to create something out of nothing and you were resourceful enough to do it and inspiring enough, because that's the kind of stuff that's going to get you through this time.
That's interesting to think about. This time right now is nothing that I, or probably many people, have ever experienced. And, it's tough because people like myself who play live mostly, or even in recording, you work very closely with people, proximity-wise as well, and that's the biggest problem here. And now you have to work differently, remotely, making music at home on your own before you send it off to someone else to edit their parts, and someone else mixes it. It's a completely different dynamic, and as much as so you kind of have to just practice and do that and keep your chops up, and so that when things do reopen, you're there for it, you're ready for it.
Is there obviously it's you're speaking more about the recording process of overdubbing stuff, emailing it, cutting and pasting into Pro Tools, all that stuff. That was already happening pre-coronavirus. In fact, that was it's one of the things that's dismaying to me about modern recording industry. It's just you don't have those. I just got off the phone with Randy Brecker. That guy was the ultimate studio shark. He was doing Johnny Cash, mariachi horns, and then he was doing Ornette Coleman rehearsals, but then, back to do jingles. And there's no doubt that Joan Chu would have been in the same boat, but that's the recording side of music. And I'm really more talking about the ability. Anytime I go see live music that I like, I want to be liberated. I want to let the body dance, and I want to be healed. And I wonder if you've thought about ways of, in a safe fashion, and not right now, but in a few months or down the road, what that live music experience will look like. I mean, will you guys? I don't know how big a band you have, but will you have to stand 6 feet apart on the bandstand? Will you only, if you're playing like a venue, a 1,500 seat venue, are they only going to let 350 people in? These are just things I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, and I wonder, being somebody who's in it, in Gotham, if you've given that some thought, and what you feel about that.
I mean, I feel like I've heard about theaters reopening only if they are able to seat people the way that they can seat people safely. And some of them talk about like selling 4 tickets and then having like 6 seats, spaced out between the 4 ticket sales. And I've heard about people talking about, hey, I like to go concerts by myself, and I'm not going to buy 4 seats just to go to one concert. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but there's also talk about drive-in concerts, which sounds really interesting to me.
What is that? What are they? What
You
is?
know,
I mean, explain what is that about?
like drive-in movies. I mean, I've never been to a drive-in movie only because I come from Singapore and we never had drive-in movies there, but I've seen it on, American TV, for example, and I think that would be interesting that people will be able to drive in, watch a concert, and kind of dance in their cars. What's really funny to me is seated concerts, but they can still like dance in the car
Yeah.
and maybe stand by the car and dance.
Would it be projected on like a big screen, or would you actually be on a bandstand and there'd just be like massive cars, like in the parking lot?
I imagine that there'll be a big enough stage, but there will also be a screen. So I will still be 6 feet away from my band members, but there will be also a screen. I don't know how that's going to happen in New York, though, New York City, rather. And that might not happen, but there might be other places where we can do that.
You have an interesting accent. What is your blood?
I grew up in Singapore and born in Singapore. I moved to New York City about 10 years ago.
But
To play music, yeah.
your parents are both from Singapore.
Yes, and they are still there.
How are they doing?
They're good. They're keeping themselves safe, so I'm happy about that.
Can you talk a little? I mean, I've part of my third book is about coming to America, and I've interviewed Miroslav Vitous, Jan Hammer, Alan Broadbent, Ayrton Moreira. All these guys came from Brazil, New Zealand, Australia, Prague. When jazz specifically was a popular art form, and they were some of the first cats to come to Berkeley. Some of them took boats over. Um, you know, and I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about not so much like the steps that you got to the States, but how you've assimilated to not just American culture, but I mean, New York was still a great place to see a lot of music, but because the significance of music in our culture has changed so much, uh, there's less venues. There's music is unquantifiable. So if you can't collect data on it, some people would consider it a musician's gift to the world. So you're going into a cutthroat metropolis, and I just wanted you to talk about how hard it was for you, or what was the biggest challenges for you to assimilate to American culture.
So when I when I was in Singapore, I was already playing in bands, specifically a cover band that people would stand in line to come see us, and it was a lot of fun. It also, taught me how to play in a band situation, one, yes, and also how to respond to a crowd. So I already kind of had that under my belt, so to speak. And coming here, I just wanted to expand my horizon. Obviously, the pool, the population in Singapore is way smaller than America, clearly. So there's a lot of talent out here. There's a lot of people who are still exploring music and still exploring themselves through music. And I feel like when I came here, not knowing anyone was the toughest part. But you put yourself on Craigslist, you look up for more Craigslist ads, I know, Craigslist, and you say yes to a lot of things because a gig is a gig is a gig,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
And yeah, and I felt like I heard what you were talking with Randy earlier on about how like we shouldn't place money value on. I mean, you should always charge for your services, your music services. But at that point in time when nobody knew me, I was really nobody here.
No.
You kind of have
Let
to
me
do
be
it.
clear. Yeah, no. That only comes. I mean, only with street cred, and then someone like Randy could charge triple
Yeah,
scale after he was a known entity. But it's impossible if you're not a known entity.
right. So you were asking like how why it was tough for me because it was tough for me in that way. I was an unknown entity. I mean, not like I'm super known or anything right now, but I was completely unknown then, and so therefore a gig is a gig is a gig. You play free or cheap, and you
Absolutely.
work from there. And you have to persevere, and you have to bring your game to every show or every rehearsal that you say yes to. That's how I think I kind of like work my way into things here. American culture wise, I mean, I have to say that sometimes I feel lost because we don't get all the TV back in Singapore. That we don't get all American TV back from Singapore, so I only know certain things. Sometimes there's some jokes that are lost on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want, you find out, you learn, and so you just have to keep an open mind, whether it's regards to music or whether it's regards to culture over here.
I love that attitude. I mean, can you talk about some of the funny? I have to be very honest with you. I don't. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say I don't love cover bands, but then I think back to my best friends are in, Grateful Dead cover bands, so I'm obsessed with them. But
Right.
but I wonder about, when I connected with you, I just felt like maybe she is somebody who's an omnivore when it comes to music, and I just wonder about the most free music situation you've ever been in. I mean, insofar as throwing away the set lists, not really playing, not really rehearsing a lot, but just having a lot of trust in your bandmates and being able to go with a theme and create new forms and improvise without it becoming a mess.
Right. I like the term omnivore. I think I'm going to use that from now onwards because I think that's what
Yeah, no.
two of my
Charlie Parker was an omnivore. I mean, I think you are too. I can see in your eyes
in a
you're very hungry.
different way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, because I mean, Bird with the radio, he would just listen to every music on every station, country, western, blues, and he would learn to play the tune in every key. So his ears got unlocked, But he was truly somebody. Who wasn't just like, he supposedly is responsible for coming up with the language of bebop, but
Right.
he did that through being an omnivore. So take me through some of your omnivorous experiences.
So I think I started off classical because I picked up the piano and then the violin, and my early years was all on like classical learning, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms kind of thing. So you read, you play, you listen to recordings from famous musicians who are playing all this stuff. So that's how I started it with classical years, and a lot of singing was done. I sang. I remember as a kid, I sang a lot in fixed do. So I didn't know what it meant, but to me, it was just singing in fixed do. It was a natural thing, like the language.
Huh.
I would look at score. I remember being in a choir when I was about 7 or 8, and a teacher would hand out music scores, and not everybody could read, music. I looked at it and I sang everything without knowing why I could do it, and my friends were like, how do you know how that sounds? I'm like, how do you not know how that sounds?
Right, you had
So
perfect pitch.
at that point in time, yes, I think so.
No, that was just
I
a
mean,
natural thing. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it's great. It's helpful as well as sometimes it can be tricky. It depends on the situation. Relative pitch is always better, right? Perfect pitch, develop with relative pitch, I suppose. But what was going on about?
Well, no, because when did Joan Chu get sick and tired of taking instruction from a conductor, and you went off and
Oh, yeah.
let the body dance?
That's right. Well, I've always been, I guess, drawn to melodies in the first place. So playing the piano, you get to play melody as well as understand what supports melodies, right? Then I picked up the violin because it was so emotive. It's like, oh my God, this is how like a melodic instrument sound like. It's expressive. It's very different from playing the piano, and I found it to be. It became my first instrument, so to speak.
Right.
Even though I picked up the piano first, and then at that point in time, I had not heard of rock music, which is what is the most common genre of music I'm playing right now. But at about, I think I was 17, maybe 16, 17, and I heard someone play the electric guitar live. It's not that I had not listened to any rock music then, but someone actually playing it live in front of me. And then you just feel it in your blood, in your veins,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's amazing. It's powerful. So I started to explore more and started to check out more rock music. I picked up the guitar and the bass. Never really played it, professionally then, but it was just something I was just inquisitive about. I just wanted to know more. I even tried the drums, took some drum lessons just to know what it's like to play those instruments in a band. Yeah, and I would listen to anything from pop to indie to rock to grunge, and it just everything. You can learn something from everything that you listen to if you choose to, as opposed to like, oh, I don't like this genre of music, and then close your ears to it. Because I believe that anything you listen to is going to it's going to influence you as a musician, whether you're a songwriter or whether you're someone who covers. Which is funny to me, this thing cover band, because growing up playing classical music, nobody calls those musicians cover bands or cover musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like something like. So I play in Led Zeppelin, which is an all girls, all Zeppelin. I guess you can call it tribute band. But to me, Led Zeppelin or Beatles or Pink Floyd, they are like the Bach and Beethoven and Brahms of today's rock musicians. You have to learn those stuff. You have to play those stuff. And you have to put yourself in when you play those stuff. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very well said. I mean, I wonder about. You're too young to. I mean, I'm 42, so I basically, and I was a late bloomer as it came to music appreciation and ultimately turning my show into, improvisational discussion about the spiritual qualities of music. But, there was a period of time when, it was, Duke Ellington. It was all music.
Yeah.
And I just feel like you said that there's, people will say, well, I don't like jazz, but if you ask 15 or 20 people what jazz is, you'll get 15 or 20 different answers. And I just wonder if you feel that my argument is that we haven't had an expansion of vocabulary in music in a long time, and a lot of that has to do with because music genres have been stratified. It's just there's so much stratification in labeling, and I wonder how you, setting aside the gigs you play and get paid for, how you approach, or do you come from the Duke Ellington school that it's all music, and then the subjective part is it's either good or bad.
I definitely agree with that. I think there's a lot of takeaway from different genres of music. I've not really played a lot of jazz, to be honest. I love listening to jazz. I think jazz is an art form that it's probably one of the art forms that you have to spend almost every waking hour and minute and second to so-called master it. I like the rebellious nature of being able to improvise, whether it's in jazz or rock. I guess that's one of the reasons why I might have actually stepped away from pursuing music on the classical level. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. You got sick and tired of taking orders from a conductor. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. I mean, are you somebody that? Do you listen to other, not your peers, but I mean, because you've kind of become very snug with the bass, have you checked out the forefathers of the bass, or do you tend to get off on other instruments?
What do you mean by the forefathers of the bass? Do you mean?
Well, because I have a very dear friend, Dan Horn, who is a great, plays upright. And do you play upright at all?
No, I do not.
Okay, so he doesn't play a lot upright. He plays mainly electric, and his sound is just is so funky. It's like all the guys that have interviewed. Like, I don't know if these names will mean anything to you, but Wilton Felder. And Chuck Rainey, and really, and these are dear. Wilton passed away, but Chuck and I mean, I love these guys, and they just played such good feel, and they played on so many sessions, and so much of it was, basically creating a lot of space in the music and allowing that space to be the music. And it was just, and a lot of it had to do with the blues. But you, I mean, coming from Singapore, I mean, for a long time, the blues was intermeshed right alongside the jazz. And I just listened to those guys. Wilton was also a tenor sax player with the Jazz Crusaders. So he had this incredible soaring quality on the horn. And then these guys were just the funkiest, nastiest players, and they could play in any kind of setting. Could be folk, psychedelic, could be post bop, doesn't matter. And I just that's why I ask you. So my point is that my friend Dan Horn, who sounds like Wilton Felder, has never heard Wilton Felder before. He's just playing who he is, and I wonder. And I've learned along the way that a lot of guitar players are influenced by piano players, not necessarily guitar players. So I just wasn't sure if you were inspired or got off on other instruments that influenced your point of view on the bass.
Definitely. I've always felt like every musician, every instrumentalist has their role in a band, and the bass role is to be supportive. You have your chops. You can also play melodies. But at the end of the day, you're always serving the song and the band.
Right.
And whoever you are interacting with, mostly with the drummer, yes. But as a bass player, I feel like as a bass player, you're the one who probably listens to everyone in the band most because you're the glue. My take on being a bass player stems from, I guess, probably being a piano player first, because understanding what all the parts are, their roles are in the band, and so you do that. That's why space is important. Sometimes you're creating, sometimes you got to be on the root, sometimes you got to be on the third, whatever it is, but whatever you choose to play has to make sense in the context, and not just like, oh, check out, I know my harmonic progression here, so I'm going to hit the seventh because I know there's going to be a seventh to this chord, kind of thing. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It doesn't make any sense if it's not supporting something. I'm not saying that, you should always play simple. You should play simple, but you should also know where you want to put fills and when you want to create a space for tension or just the silence so that when it comes back powerful. There's all sorts of reasons why you choose a certain note to play or why you choose a certain rhythm. And I think, the big names that you mentioned, whether they're in jazz or in bluegrass or, they have the same musicality and musicianship in mind, musicianship rules in mind, so to speak, when they play. I feel that. And that's how I listen to bands or singer-songwriter stuff in very frequently if I'm allowed to suggest arrangement, which is one of my favorite things to do when I work with singer-songwriters, is to do that, to help arrange and to help talk about the groove of a song or where what notes should be in the song, So
yeah, it's beautiful. I mean,
that's my freedom.
I mean, you are just. I mean, where did you learn? Well, that's not even important. The reality is that a lot of cats. I know you don't claim to be a jazzer per se, but a lot of drummers, especially the old school shamans that I've interviewed. I mean, the leaders of the bands never told them what to play. They never jazz.
Right.
The idea of jazz is sort of having the technique and the chops and the feel, and then forgetting all that, and then playing what you feel at that time in that moment, expressing a visceral emotion. And I wonder if in your limited experiences playing instrumental improvisational music, if you can talk about what that feeling is like to be able to have trust with people, to be able to play what you feel.
I just think that when we say the word improvisation, it sounds as if you just pluck notes out of the air and just play.
I'm sorry. No. I want to be clear. I want to be clear. Leaving the head of the tune and going to Never Never Land and then landing back in the tune. But taking it out to left field, that to me seems like that's why the Spirits connected us, is because I want you to go to left field, and I think you probably have.
And the left field part doesn't just come from nowhere. It comes from one, listening to a lot of people, listening to different genres of music, right? You can't just go left field without a language in your hand. And I think a lot of it comes from the practicing behind the scenes, and then the interaction with the band members, like you speak, the trust that if you're a trumpeter in the jazz band, the trust that when you go off somewhere, you have the bass player and the drummer supporting you, rhythmically, harmonically, the trust in your band members to support you in that way when you go take off somewhere else. And I think improvisation in that manner allows you to, when you interact that way with your band members, it shows, and your audience gets drawn in, and
they have to go. Your bandmates have to go there with you if you want to take it out somewhere else. And that's I mean, can you talk about an experience or a band that you were in that was like that?
So, like I said, even though I play in a so-called Led Zeppelin tribute band, we don't really call ourselves a tribute band. We play the tunes because Led Zeppelin itself never really plays the same thing twice when they're on stage. So we try to take it in that direction too. Whether it's with a blues tune, like since I've been loving you, there's always like that interaction between them and rehearsals with each other that you can start to read each other, whether it's an eye contact or whether it's a note that's nuanced. To take you somewhere else, and yeah, that's my experience with the improvisation in a non-jazz context, so to speak.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I mean, I'm cool with that, but I mean, outside of.
I'm sorry if I'm not understanding you.
No. You're volleying with me very proficiently. I mean, you're doing great. I'm trying to get outside of I can't get off on Led Zeppelin. I respect their legacy. I'm talking,
okay,
I'm talking about like, like a situation that you were in, even if it only lasted for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when you were in a band with people writing original music, and there was the rehearsal, the R word was a dirty word, and you got up and you just burned to the heavens, and maybe you went off the rails, but that was part of the fun of it. I mean, part of the fun of music, even though people are petrified because they want everything to be perfect today because of technology, is losing the downbeat, losing the one, going off, and then collectively finding it together and coming back in on the one. And you can play the same. Maybe every song is different every night with Zeppelin, but I'm just talking about with Joan Chu.
You're talking about more like original.
I'm talking about a fearless. I'm talking about a trusting, fearless, original band that you played in.
I've played in several.
And I realize that it's very hard to make money doing that kind of music.
Oh yeah, totally. Forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. Yeah.
In today's context, forget about it.
Forget about
it. I have a gig that pays my bills, but I have other other stuff that like you experience in a band together. It's like being in a relationship, really. You so funny. The part that you talked about being petrified about not being perfect, oh my God, that just resonated a lot for me because, like I told you, coming from the classical background, every note has to be perfect. How you do it, why you do it. So the first time I ever got the chance to veer away from that, it was petrifying. And I did not know how to. I'll be very honest. I think it was my teenage years. I did not know how to. If you didn't have a score in front of me, I didn't know how to play. I just...
Sure. I think it's a very honest, very common thing with people that were steeped in classical music. So how did you break down those rigid thought patterns and liberate yourself?
You do it low at a time. Like with anything, you have to do it low at a time. Otherwise, it becomes overwhelming. So maybe it's just an 8-bar solo. Maybe it's just, pretend that no one's paying attention to you and just trust that your band members are not going to strangle you at the end of the rehearsal or something. Like, what the hell was that about? But, yeah, it's like being in a relationship you trust before you're allowed to do that, I guess. But that definitely only happens in a situation where you feel like you have nothing to lose. So that if you veer off in a way that nobody understands you, that's okay. You're not going to lose a gig because of it. But is that funny? I don't know. But
no, I mean, could you talk about a band once you got your sea legs and nobody strangled you and you were starting to cook the groove? I mean, I really want to get into the Joan Chu, the deep bag of going off the rails, playing original music.
Oh my God, all the secrets.
Absolutely, I'm not this formula. I'm not saying you're not the only one. I mean, prior to coronavirus, it's like the only bands making money on tour are like Journey, Steve Miller, Tower of Power. These are all regurgitated acts from Baby Boomer. And believe me, I've interviewed a lot of these cats. They're beautiful people. And I'm not saying you shouldn't make money, but they're making millions of dollars regurgitating stuff over and over again. And it's like, give me a break. I mean, that just speaks to, it's like this is about going off the rails, playing to the heavens. A lot of our mutual friends on Facebook are those kinds of cats. And I expect that you are that way too. And I just wanted to know about a band that where you maybe you made no money, but still you got off on it.
I had a power pop band when I first moved here, and it was a lot of fun playing because, my guitar singer-songwriter would just come up with, "Hey guys, I wrote this melody and this is, I don't know what else to do with it. Let's play."
Yeah, that's
and
it.
I'll play. Yeah, exactly. I'll play, and I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna go well, but let's just try out this. Let's just try out this idea. We'll change tempos and stuff.
I love it. Wait, this was you were the leader of the band?
No. We all had equal parts.
No,
I
but
like to
I
think
thought you
that.
said I had a power pop band. You were in a power pop band.
I was in a power
What
couple.
was the name? What was the
It's
name
a
of the What was
trio.
the name of the band?
We were called Party Lights.
Is there any video of this? I need to find the Joan Chu. I
Yes,
need to find that. I need to.
there is. There are recordings of it, and they're probably videos. Yeah.
Oh,
And
so
then
yeah.
in the same time, I was also in a band called Bright and Loud, which was man, that band had a lot of influences. The guys in that band, we were a quartet. The guys in the band, they're all graduates from Berkeley School, so they were very technical as opposed to Party Lights being. I'm not saying. Well, Party Lights wasn't technical. Very musical. So was. Oh my God.
You know
So was
what?
Bright and
No. I
Loud.
want to tell you something right now. That is what it's about. I don't need
Yes.
I don't need facility and chops because I wind up
Yes.
they wind up wanking it and I wind up staring at the wall. I want
Yeah.
musicality. I want melodies, and a lot of that stuff
Right.
has to come naturally. That's what it's about. What was it called? City Lights. What was the name of the trio?
Party Lights.
Well, that was
Party Lights.
that was the more whimsical,
Whimsical power pop, yeah.
Geez, I mean, this is where this is the Joan Chu that I want to go check out. And the other thing is, we talk about, a lot of bands today feel like they have to pulverize the audience in order to get their attention. And that means turning it up to 10 and dynamic. There's no dynamic range in the music, ever. It's just at this one fatally loud clip, and all the great pop hits and soul hits, jazz of our time, that going back to the middle part of last century, they all had incredible dynamics. And I am wondering if there was a time on the bandstand, once you broke free from the conformity of classicalized music, when your ears grew the most on the bandstand with dynamics.
I don't think dynamics has ever left any time I played at all, or with any band. So I don't really understand what that means because it's just always been with me, no matter who I play with and what I play. It's just dynamics is part of music. You can't.
You recognize though that you've walked into plenty of shows where they've turned it up.
Shows, yes.
They've turned it up to 10 and it never changes.
Yeah.
That to me is demoralizing. So I'm saying,
Oh.
that I don't want to be blasted out for the whole show. I want songs to be undulating. I want them to have tempo shifts. I want them to have dynamics. So
You want a whole story told to you at a show is basically what it is, right?
Absolutely, and ultimately, it's I want somebody's original story. I don't, or their own take on particular tunes that I may or may not be, or that I am familiar with. But I just feel like, especially in modern pop music, and especially you listen to, modern pop music from before we were born. Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and Bruce Springsteen. I mean, you listen to those albums, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that there were real human beings playing on those albums, and they were jazzers, so they could play all types of music, and the dynamic range is intoxicating, and it's why those songs became hits. And so in modern pop music today that's being commercialized, I don't hear any dynamics. And not live, I'm just saying studio-wise. And the fact is that people are being built up as pop stars actually don't even have any musical talent at all. They couldn't even go tour if they wanted to. So that lack of authenticity is very bothersome for me. But
I'm with you on that totally.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm glad you're with me on that.
Very frequently, everything is cut and paste in a studio, and then when you go out live and they can't deliver in that same way, you're like, what just happened here? I thought I heard something good, but I guess, this is so telling. Whereas just look at Michael Jackson. His albums are great, but his live shows, it's like a different elevated experience out of his recordings. And I just think that live shows have to be that way, you know?
Oh,
Have a bit
absolutely.
of
There's no
yeah.
way it's absolutely imperative that people. I don't understand this idea of going to a show to hear exactly what's on the record. To me, I want to
Oh,
have a
yeah.
completely different experience. But Joan, we have a game on this program called Name That Voice. I don't expect you to know who this is, but just pay attention to the content, and we'll come back.
Okay. All right.
Well, love to me is what makes everything go around. I think that love created the universe. I think that if you say you do not believe in God, you're an atheist or whatever. I respect that. I think we all need to respect how each other feels about things in life. But for you to say that you don't believe in God, and if you have a little daughter or a little son, and you look in their eyes, you can't tell me that you don't believe in love.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, God is love. So I don't think I need to go any further with that as far as that's concerned. And
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that and especially at this time in the world, what's going on out there in the world, it's just insane. And we need to hold on to love. We need to hold on to what love is. We need to realize that there's a heavy struggle going on in the world, and I don't think any of us really understand. We don't understand it like we should. But I know one thing for sure, that this world needs love. It always did. Jackie DeShannon said it.
All right, Joan Chu, you want to take a guess at who that is?
Jeez.
It's okay. There's no way you would know it. I'm curious. Are you familiar with the drummer Jim Keltner?
Yes.
Okay, so Jim and I are
I've heard.
Yeah,
Go on.
we've done maybe 4 or 5 radio interviews, and that was, I mean, he could have been speaking about right now, but that was back in August of 2014 when I interviewed him. And my question for you, Joan, because we're going to have to do part 2. This has just been exhilarating for me. Is how vulnerable are you to receiving love in your life?
Wow. Man, that's really sensitive. People, myself included, are, how should I put this?
Let
I want to be loved,
me put it this
but
way.
I don't want to be hurt, you know?
Right.
Go on.
I mean, part of my show is about love, and
Yeah.
I could say to you, what is your concept of love? And you could come at me and say, I express love through my music, and I can connect with people and make them feel whole and inspire me. But, so many musicians, they are searching for their niche, the singularity, authenticity, and you wonder sometimes if there's room for companionship and or if there is real love, if it's pushed away because you guys are used to being on your own, like you said, just sort of cutting your way out of the woods with a machete, and I wonder about your ability to recognize love and how vulnerable you are to receive it.
As I think, as a musician, especially as a live musician, when you play on stage, a lot of us want to be accepted, and that's the love back from the audience, obviously, isn't it? And I in this world, with a love and kindness in this world, more so in this time, a lot love, kindness, understanding, and I try on a personal level to also bring that to a band situation. whether I'm interacting with just my band members or even with the audience, you need to be open. But even though you're afraid to be hurt,
Right.
you know, because only being open can you empathize, sympathize with somebody, so-called put yourself in someone's shoes, I suppose. I don't know, but
Well, and also recognize that sometimes what you think will hurt you maybe does in the moment, but actually makes you stronger.
sure.
When you are
As
vulnerable.
cliche as it sounds, it is true. It's absolutely true. You just have to realize that it is temporary. That pain is temporary. And I know that pain also inspires a lot of musicians, but that pain is temporary. Yeah.
And the pain is, right now, the inability to be in commune with live music. And Joan, you're a divine character. I would love to do part 2 with you as soon as possible.
I'm here. I have time.
Now, I hope you enjoyed it, and
I did,
yeah,
yes.
and we'll pick up the conversation real soon, and just keep moving, keep doing your thing. You got a good head on your shoulders, and
Thank you.
you know, the future is completely unknown, and there is no roadmap. So I feel like you've kind of been on the track before in different ways. So you just got to hunker down and let the body dance. So it was just great to connect with you.
Likewise, Jake.
All right. Yeah. Have a great day. I'll get this up online later.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Cheers,
again.
my friend.
Bye.
Bye. We'll be back with Alex Churchello right after this.